welcome back from the short break, everyone. Um, I'll be going through my project in a process format as part of the case study. So, my project, I've titled it as Aging New. We were looking at how we can tackle social isolation amongst seniors. Um, I could call them older people, I could call them elderlies, but I thought seniors sounds a little better. It sounds, a little more empowering. So even through this is a very small thing, but even through my entire journey through this project, this is something I've identified, and even a thing as small as this was a learning point for me. So just a little bit of context on the project. We worked with Camden Council, which is Camden is basically a borough in London, which is like a community, a neighborhood community, and Camden Council is their council who looks after them. And we addressed this problem because this was a huge problem for them, social isolation. Not only just amongst old people, but other generations as well, other age groups also. And this project was around, it took me 5 months as it was my final project. And it was very interesting. I mean, I think I'll always remember this project because we started off for 1.5 months. I was actually able to do it physically in London. So I was able to work with my partner, sit with her, put on post-its, work on ideas, get in touch with with the older people, go to care centers, spend time with them. And suddenly, like the COVID just changed everything. And I was back in Singapore, and I worked on this project remotely for the past 3.5 months with my partner who's in China now. I'm in Singapore, and my users and all my partners are in London. So it's quite, a unique learning for me. So, remembering that we talked about the design journey where we empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, that is how I'm going to take you through my project in the same bits through empathy, defining, ideating, and prototyping, and then testing and iterating. Uh, so, how I'll structure this is I'll talk about my research as well, but I'll also give you tips on, what you can do in those bits and pieces as well. So we first try to understand, who feels the most isolated in Camden. So there are definitely older seniors, older people aged over 65, and they experienced constant life transitions, such as, retirement. And what do they do after retirement? Loss of spouse, loss of those social connections that they had made, and perhaps even the onset of a disability. One of them said that she says that I don't know who I am without my once active and social life. And on the other hand, you have the youth like Kylie, who are between the age of 16 to 24, who are also experiencing constant life transitions that causes them stress, anxiety, low self-esteem, and depression, which is a huge problem now. And this could be caused by, for example, transitioning from one job to another job, or transitioning from school to working. And one of them said that it's rather challenging to find out what you're going to do after leaving school and finishing school as well. So here again, what really helps is being very clear on your research, on your insights. And sometimes it's good to like put quotations as well, just to show that someone you have like this, so people can relate to it as well. Like I could probably relate to Kylie. Someone who's older could probably relate to Margot. And in order to understand this better, we did research with various stakeholders. So there was people from the Helen Hamlin Center, there was the Camden Council who we were working with. So we actually, we were in touch with the Social and Inclusion Center department. Then we also went down to the Age UK Camden Center, which was the daycare center where we spent uh, half a day with like old women who had dementia. And see, again, I am not an expert in health, but I actually went down. I had a very outsider's perspective on this, but it was so interesting to just see someone else's life, and put yourself in their space. So when it comes to the issues that we identified, um, there was one which was kinship pattern. So as you can see on the left side, we've actually created the social circle around these seniors, about how they interact, who are the social circles. There's the individual, there's the family layer, there's the community layer, there's the social care service layer, and the public layer. This is not exactly a stakeholder map, but it is close to it in the sense where we're trying to understand the ecosystem around these people. So one of the issues that they faced was kinship pattern differences. Members of families are more geographically dispersed today and can't take full responsibility of their elders. Secondly, there was lack of sense of belonging. Because of the transient population, many seniors don't feel a sense of belonging. Lack of control, where social services have become task oriented and gradually create a detachment between seniors' ability to make decisions. And finally, social stereotype, which was one of the biggest ones, which was seniors being perceived as vulnerable. So this is just an example of one of the issues, which was lack of sense of belonging. Knowing that London has a higher rate of population churn, this creates its own sense of isolation, and it also has less intergenerational contact. So when I talk about population churn, it means that a lot of people are incoming and outgoing. So you have these older people staying in houses in a community for like the past 50 years, but you have students like us who come there for 2 years and then leave the place. And because of that change, the older people are not able to adapt to the new culture that comes into these spaces. And Margot says that the area she lives in now has so many transient populations that there is no real sense of community compared to the past. So again, this is another tip where, really showing the faces of people you've talked to and quoting them adds a humanistic touch to what you're presenting and talking about. So I'd like to ask all of you, what do you think you can learn from an older person? I'd like you to drop in your first thoughts in the chat below. Let's just take 2 minutes to do this. Just the first thing that comes to your mind. There are no right or wrong answers. Sorry about that. Sandeep, I'm not able to see the chat, but can you tell me what if people respond?
Yeah. So like some of them are sharing about life experiences, wisdom, patience, yeah, life lessons, never give up. All these are like uh, common ones. Yeah, values.
That's really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's really nice. I mean, it's good that there is awareness of this because it really helps address my final concept as well. So this is great, but a lot of people that we talk to, the youngsters in London, they said that the most they can think of is maybe gardening, cooking, baking, knitting. So then we also realized that there's this public stereotype, of older people amongst the youth, amongst different generations. But that wasn't the case when we actually talked to these seniors. When we talk to them, we realize that there is such an abundance of knowledge that they have through their life experiences, through their constant, life journeys, working, living life as well, education. And it almost felt like they were the coolest people in the room when we were talking to them. So, for example, Roger here, he actually helped build the Humber Bridge in London, which is a very famous bridge back then, and he was really proud of it. We have Data, who is actually an ex-Chinese Michelin star chef, and even though he has a stroke, presently, he actually went to India to teach Chinese cooking to increase tourism in the hotels. And we have Christine here, who was actually a YSL and Dior model in her time. Today she's 80, but you can still see that red, bright smile on her face. And it was really upsetting and really saddened us because I feel like a lot of people didn't see their value, didn't see that they have so much in them till this day. Often I think we do have it in mind that this is what we can learn from them, but when it comes to actually doing it, or when it comes to visual perception as well, I think it differs a lot. So we find that there is a missed opportunity here to reutilize seniors' accumulated knowledge and experiences to empower their social support network and enhance their sense of agency. So this is where it comes to defining our opportunities. Until now we were looking at how do we empathize, how do we understand, and then you start realizing the opportunities that can arise from what you have discovered. So our design strategy was realizing that there is a demanding need to establish the informal care within the communities. We wanted to also improve intergenerational engagement within the community. In the social care service layer, we wanted to make information and opportunities more accessible to seniors and work with them to bring that control back, to not make them feel like they should be too dependent on other people. Excuse me. And lastly, in the public layer, we really wanted to empower seniors to realize their accumulated knowledge and interest to give back to the society. In a way, we wanted to boost community engagement across generations and shift people's perceptions of them from being vulnerable to visible and highly valued. So, when you are presenting, when you are trying to get your message across, it really helps to be bolder and to just, in plain sentences, also put those strong keywords out there to help, encourage and also enforce it on the people who are listening to you. So in terms of opportunities, we have identified that, hey, these seniors have so much experience. That's something that we can help them with, help them get more agency to share it with other people. But in terms of intergenerational opportunities to help reduce the lack of sense of belonging as well, we did some co-creation workshops with Ella, a UCL student. And as I mentioned, this is not what I'm going to be showing you here. This is a live transition mapping that we did with Ella. It's not something that's in the books. We just thought of it. We were like, hey, why don't we try something where we're able to indirectly get information or get views out of people, our users. So we did this transition mapping where we wanted to understand what were the most significant parts or moments in Ella's life and what were the moments she was unsure about. And she stated that when she was studying her in UCL, which is University College of London, she realized that she needed advice within changing programs. So she was studying law, but she wanted to shift to psychology. And that moment was, she was very unsure about that moment, being all alone in London, coming from elsewhere. And in order to understand this better, in order to understand our opportunities better, we then expanded and ideated and prototyped with our users as well. So we did co-creation sessions with seniors and other age groups as well. As you can see, Ella is there. We have Margot as well, and that's my teammate um, up there. And knowing that we're doing this remotely, it was a very different experience. So some of you must be knowing Miro. So we use Miro as a tool. And we just did some sketchy wireframes. We just took pictures, scanned some paper sketches that we did to understand what these people need and whether what we're designing for them is valuable or not. And we combine it with the digital as well. Another important thing is to document these ideas. So what we did was we told all of them that, hey, can you please keep notebooks ready and a pen ready? We're going to do this session where we just think of 8 crazy ideas. We give you 10 minutes and all of us come up with different ideas. And I actually also participated because I didn't want to make it seem like, my users are the only ones doing it. So we came up with quite a few ideas, and it's always nice to show this sort of organic and raw images to people to add more like humanistic touch to it. And in order to identify, test, and iterate our ideas, we also did prototyping sessions with experts and users. So on the top left, you can see that's Susan. She is the CEO of Eugenie, which is a community-based app in London. And we designed more defined and finished prototypes, app screens, and we just wanted to, discuss this with her and see her views on it. So it's very important to talk to experts as well, to understand how they are sort of working in the market, and what is the space for us in the market. And at the bottom right, you can see we actually engage with Camden Daycare Center. So these were some of the seniors we talked to just understand from them what they think about our service as well. So very briefly, introducing our service, which is called the New Age Aging New, an age-inclusive co-sharing platform. And as you can see, these visuals, so I designed these visuals, but why I'm trying to mention that is because this is where my graphic design skills might also come into play. So as I said, it's not like if you are a UX designer, you only do that. I might also need to do some of the visual aspects of my project as well, but that enables me more because I have more hold on what I'm doing then. So going through the touch points, now touch points are the different interaction points that a user might interact with within your service. So you have the part about creating awareness. This is where, we wanted to really spread inclusive awareness. Then there was the onboarding process, where our service was launched and we had the physical onboarding event. And lastly, we established an age-friendly co-sharing platform to help people connect with the right neighbors and places. And this was done through an app to continue nurturing these relationships. So as you can see, it didn't just stop at like, hey, let's do an app, but there were so many other aspects to it as well, which would help sustain our users also. So briefly going through some of them, we had our neighborhood poster, which was to get people to see seniors from vulnerable to visible. So these are some seniors that we, took pictures of as well and that we use. So this was Roger's story, and we actually put it as a poster where he says that, hey, it's not badminton, it's actually goodminton. And we were like, oh, okay, that's pretty unique. Someone might pick on this. Before they do, I'm just going to mention it. It's not a badminton racket, it's a tennis racket. I know that. I wasn't able to find a proper picture, but as long as you get the point. So Roger, so we just wanted to show like Roger 73 is the only goodminton expert in town. Join him at the Kentish Town Sports Center. So this is a very honest, taking all those evaluators that we had talked about. This is a very honest way of approaching our project, really gaining awareness about older people. And secondly, we really aim to deliver a nurture pack to the seniors' homes. So because we know that they can't go out and, they're not so aware of what's happening, they're not going to go look at every poster in town. We were like, hey, why not just deliver a care package to their homes? This also includes updated information. We also provide a map to them. And this map is not just the one that you see on Google, but we actually try to design it in a more personal and fun way, where there are more colors to it. It looks more lively as well, to show them what are the activities happening in the spaces around them. And then as part of our onboarding service, one of the main features is to co-design communities. So this is where residents of that space come together and they actually have a conversation about co-designing their community. And this is where they share their skills, their experiences, their knowledge in a group. And they just talk about like, maybe like if someone wants to learn UX design from me, or if I want to learn about law from someone, I could just put it down in those spaces that, hey, I want to learn this. Can you teach me digital skills at the library, for example? So it gives more agency to people as well. And lastly, to continue nurturing these relationships, we introduce an app as well. This goes back to being innovative as well as aesthetic. This app allows everyone in the community, the residents, to find the right people in the right places, to connect with them, to gain guidance, to have more honest opinions, to just find a friend within your circle, within the closest proximity. So a very simple scenario here. Ella, who's actually a law student, she, as you can see on the screen, her profile shows some keywords like hashtags, basically, that she's a law student, she enjoys writing, she enjoys going to the theater. And she actually contacted Margot because Margot is an ex-lawyer and she was like, hey, I need some help, I want to just learn more about law and know if I should switch to something else. So Margot, being a senior who's never actually had someone ask her for help, was really thrilled about this. And they had an engagement in a community space which was safe for them. And then knowing that you should always appreciate people who help you, we designed an appreciation system where Ella can actually reward Margot badges to make her feel like, oh yeah, I did something good, like empowering and encouraging these seniors to go out there and help more people and share their skills, be proud of it. So then Margot can collect these stamps and she can use them to convert them to points, or discounted vouchers for cafes, or even maybe just flower seeds if she'd like to grow something in her garden. So these were all the different small little things that we had considered, and put into our service to really make sure that everyone gets the value that they need. So now this is Margot. So Margot actually exists. And on the left side, you can see that's Margot at the age of 24, 32, and 44 when she came to London from Canada without knowing what she's going to do there. But she became a lawyer and she even started training other lawyers. And that's Margot today at 73. So let's hear from Margot.
Hi, I'm Margot. I'm 73. I grew up in Canada and moved here when I was 25 to the UK. I worked in the law centre movement, and then taught barristers. I'd love to talk to you about how you see the world, given we grew up in different times, also your interests and how they are very different. I'd love help on computers, and happy to talk to you about being a lawyer. I found it very exciting, very rewarding. So I hope that's helpful. Bye.
So yeah, I mean, these small little surprising elements that perhaps bring a smile on some of our faces are really important to add into your design or whatever you're delivering, because it does make it feel like it has value. We talked about stakeholders, we talked about what is the necessity of it, but this is important, like bringing a smile on people's face is the value that we need to get across. So just to end, going through, this was basically my design journey. As you can see, it looks a bit complicated, it looks a bit messy, but that's what it actually was. If you can see, I defined my project twice, because first when I understood what we're doing and I started defining my problem, I realized later on that, okay, that's not the real problem I'm trying to solve. And we might need to do the same process quite a few times. And it is really important to then collect feedback and improve on what you've done. So this was my design journey. What does yours look like? And yeah, so remember to stay curious about what's happening. Remember to stay curious about your passions, and just continue experimenting. Yeah, thank you.